Okay, so we just learned that we can draw a shape and we can fill that shape with text. So how would we use this information? What would we do with that? So let's take a quick look here at an example. So here's a magazine layout, okay? And so you can see that they've used a big V here, and then they're using a shape of the negative space here, and then along here to fill text. Body copy is called, okay? And so we're going to do that in Illustrator. I'll go back to Illustrator here, create a new file. Okay, and we'll start off with a big letter V. So it's going to set these properties back to what they were. So I'm just going to click capital V and make that very big. And I'm going to select a nicer font. That was a serif font, so I'm going to go with Big Castle on Medium. I took a quick look before to see if I could find something that matches what they did in that example. Now, if you've been paying attention, the first thing you should say is that that is not a very good match for the font. It is a serif, but it is not nearly as neat and not nearly as clean. So you'll notice that this line is perfectly straight, whereas mine here is not perfectly straight. These are a little bit more subtle compared to these are quite large. I just don't happen to have the right font, and I didn't bother to go look for a font because I'm just using this as an example. But hopefully you guys look at that and go, yeah, that's not the right font, sir. And that would be great. All right, so there's my V. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a shape. So let's get into this area here, and my shape is going to be that right there. Now, I need to fill this in, so I'm going to go over to the New York Times and I copy some text from a fashion magazine. And now I'm going to go back to my text tool. Now I want to paste this in here, but remember that it's going to be using the font settings that I had set here, which is going to make it too big. Oh no, it didn't. It reset them. Great. That makes it easy. All right, so there we go. There's our type there. Now I think that when you're using a shape like this, you're probably best off to allow hyphenization. That's the word I was looking for. Hyphenation, because it's going to fit the shape a little bit better. Not really. Yeah, I guess it's the best it's going to get. It's not doing a lot. Maybe it's because it's weird Latin text. Anyways, and so that's how that would look. I would probably work with this a while before I let that go to print, but you know, I'm trying to get it to match. Let's see how they did on this one. Oh, you know what they did? They justified it by going there. That's much nicer. Okay, and so instead of having the spaces on the right here, right? If you're justifying everything left, it leaves these spaces. So you can then instead you can justify to the edges, leaving spaces here. What you'd want to do is you want to avoid, if you remember the term from that Prezi that you watched, that there are rivers that can run through this. And you can see that there's a bit of a river right there where there's a lot of extra space here. And so what you would do there is you would either resize or change your wording so that those rivers disappeared. You could also do things like, zoom in here. Okay, so where you've got this, you might end up changing the tracking of all of this to try and fit it, or maybe you would, what would I do? I would maybe kern them. Let's see what happens if I track this. Right, so you could track that in by, that's maybe a lot, but anyways, you get the idea. You would work with it to try and remove some of these big weird spaces, right? So you would maybe bring this in a little bit. That's not going to work. Not going to happen. You probably have to track it out or track this out. Anyways, whatever. You guys get the point. You'd want to remove some of this stuff. Okay, back out here. So there's our first shape, and the second shape I'm going to draw is going to do this. Like that. Bring this down in line with the bottom of my V there. And then I'm going to add the rest of my text. And I'm just going to add the same text that I had, which was lorem ipsum. And to replace it, I would just select all and then paste in the text from my New York Times Magazine article. Okay, notice that you can make changes to your shape still. So if I decided I wanted this to be not matching the curve or the angle exactly, I can do that, or I can get it right depending on what I'm trying to do. Okay, so that would be an example of how you use this tool. Okay, great. Back to Illustrator. Okay, so we've now learned how to use the type tool to fill in a shape. Here's how you would do. This is called typing on a path. Now, this may have changed in a more recent version of Illustrator, but I've always found this a little awkward. It just takes a bit of time to get used to. So I'm gonna make a circle, okay, and I'm gonna go to my type on a path tool. Now, what happens is I just click here, and it puts my lorem ipsum all the way around. Here's the part that's a little weird. So it started the text where I clicked, right? Let me undo that. If I went over here, it starts my text here, right? And if I paste in my JCPenney text from the magazine, that's where it starts. Okay, so I'll undo that, just wherever I click, paste. There's my text. Now the issue is that if I had an exact amount of text and I wanted it to fit in this space, I would need to either make the font bigger or smaller, right? And I can make changes to this by changing my font size, right? And so that's fitting more text in or less text in, depending, okay? But here's the part that's a little tricky. See these two blue lines at the beginning and the end of the text, okay? So there's a couple of things happening. There's these two blue lines, 1, 2. There's a red square with a plus in it. And then again, over here, there's another blue line, okay? These all have meanings. They just are not very clear. So let's look at this one first. Okay, this one, if I click and drag it, it pulls my text to the inside of the circle. And if I drag it again, it pulls it to the outside of the circle. Okay, I could also drag and rotate where my text is beginning and ending by dragging this. Then there are again 2 points here, which are, first actually let's talk about the plus. The plus means that I have more text than will fit in the space that I've given it, right? So if I start bringing this down, you'll see that there's more text in my copy and paste, and there was actually quite a lot of text there, okay, and that's where it ended. This should not be there anymore. What is that? I'm not sure why it's still giving me that plus. It shouldn't be. Oh, because there is more text. Okay, so there was a second, let me undo that. So I copied from this magazine. Oh, it just would have been the next paragraph. Okay, so let's take this as an example. I'm going to take just this one paragraph. Okay, I'm going to redo this whole thing, delete that, make my circle, go to my text tool, type on a path, click here, and there's my text, okay? And if I bring this down, you can see that it ends here, but as soon as I get up to near the end, as soon as I overdo it, I've gotten past the amount, like I'm not fitting all my text in that space. Okay, so that's what that plus means. Okay, so we've seen, and I'm gonna get rid of half of this text. Get rid of even more. Okay, so I'm gonna leave just that much. Select it all, and I'm gonna bump it up so that we can see what it's doing. Okay, so now what you'll see is we've got the text starting here. I've got this line, which is opposite of, like the opposite side of the circle from where the text begins. Okay, that's my, oops, my drag in and drag out of the circle. Okay, and also, put that back out. There's also these two lines here. Now these lines say where does your text start from and where does it end. So I notice that there's a little cursor that's showing up here, an arrow to the right and an arrow to the left. This is going to change the starting point of my text without changing, how do I explain it? If I keep typing, this type will end no matter what, where this second curve starts. So say I wanted this to be like around the top of a curve. Oops. Oh, here. Okay, if I want it to be like just this, I can now align it, right? So that's got just the top of the curve, and I'm doing that by changing these two lines here, which are admittedly, and this is what I mean, this is a little weird to work with. Like it's just, it takes some practice to get used to what it's doing, and I've been doing this for a while, and I still kind of screw it up when I'm working with this thing. Anyways, try that, see if you can figure it out. There's a lot going on. I find this tool a little tricky to work with. Okay. Anyways, you can do this with any shape, and so I've got, here's a polygon, and I go to my text tool and I click on the path. Oops, wrong tool. I go to my type on a path. I click here, and it's going to fill my line. It's going to follow my line. Okay. I can also do that with any path. This is a terrible example, but you get the idea that it follows my path. Okay, great. Easy, easy. Let's see, back to the website. What else did I want you guys to do? Okay, so there's type your name, type your initial, just experiment, figure out these two things. And then what do I got here? This is just to find out the character palette, which I've already spoken about. This is the part you're going to do for me to put on your blog. Okay, you're going to go and create 3x3, okay, 3x3 grid, okay, of typefaces, and you're going to try and describe some different typefaces just to show me that you understand how typefaces have different sort of personalities. Okay, and so if you remember on the website, if you go to here, Intro to Typography 3.2, and you scroll down, this is one where we had the Netflix and the Subway thing. I had a list here of words, okay? And these are the types of words that are kind of indicative of personality. So we've got things like playful, okay, futuristic, wavy, whatever. I want you to do that with some typefaces, okay? So you're going to go into Illustrator, okay, and you're going to get rid of this, get rid of this, and then you're going to go and you're going to click on your type tool, and you're going to click here, and you're going to go, I don't know, let's just start with A and A for now, and I'm going to make it large, and let me see, that is kind of geometric, so maybe my letters are going to be G and G, okay, and then I'm going to say is for geometric. Okay, and I'm going to try and do 9 of these. Okay, so another font I might choose is going to be, I don't know, let's find one. This for scripty. Okay, so we might say S and S. It's not a very nice script. I hate brush script. Let's find one that's a little bit better than that. Oh, here. This is, I don't know, campy. Okay, so maybe you're going to have one that says C is for campy. Okay, and maybe you want to make that be the same font. I don't know. Anyways, you're going to do that like this. Look, geometric for 9 of them. Okay, give that a shot, and then once you're done, you're going to export that. If you remember, okay, from Illustrator, you've got to then go File, and you're going to go Export. Export as a PNG, and you're going to put that on your website. Okay, so that's something to try out. I know there's a lot here. It's going to take you some time to remember Illustrator, but go play with Illustrator, play with type, play with the fonts, and just get used to creating type with your type tools in Illustrator. You do not need to do this. You've already done this. Okay, this because this lesson would have originally been the first thing we did. You've already done the pre-home, so ignore that part. But I do want you to do all of this stuff. Okay. That's it. Good luck. Talk soon.